He encouraged me to focus on economics after graduation. He himself had gone to State College and had gone on to graduate work at Clark University in economics, and after came back to State to teach accounting. And with his recommendation, I applied to Clark and received a fellowship and assistantship and went off to Clark. I also had a 1A draft classification. Now, it seemed that it was likely that I would be called to service just after graduation from SUNY. But I had a lucky break. I literally broke my ankle. I had been working in the laundry that summer and stepped off a platform, twisted and broke my ankle, and showed up at the draft center in crutches. There was no problem. They deferred me for a year, and that enabled me to go on to Clark, where I showed up with crutches, and was able to complete the year and receive my master's degree in economics and entered the service. I spent roughly 4 years in the military. First 2 years as an enlisted man, and the second 2 as a commissioned officer. As an enlisted man, I served as the assistant to the Special Services officer. And what is Special Services? Special Services are directed to maintaining and improving the morale of the troops. And we did that with a vengeance. We arranged all kinds of get-togethers with students at the girls' schools that were nearby. There was Skidmore College, which is a little farther away, but Smith was close, and Mount Holyoke. During that period, the Women's Auxiliary Corps, the WACs, showed up, first contingent at the base, and our role was to integrate the WACs into military life, and for that purpose we set up glee clubs and drama groups, newspapers, and we kept busy. Morale was pretty good. Then I went off to Officer Candidate School, and on graduating I was sent to the 2nd Air Force, headquartered at Colorado Springs, and then sent on to Dalhart Air Base. There I became the Personnel and Classification Officer. The main activities that I recall were the very stressful period when the Battle of the Bulge was being fought in Europe, and the High Command levied a draft on the Air Corps to provide troops to be sent to the front lines, essentially as cannon fodder. And the commanding officer of the base instructed me to select those to be sent based on certain guidelines that had been provided, and told me, you pick them and I'll ship them. That period lasted about 3 or 4 months, but were very, very stressful indeed. Another main activity at that time, during that time, was the shifting of resources, military resources, from Europe to the Far East. And air crews were shipped from Europe to our base, were retrained and re-equipped and sent off to the Far East. And then we were also assigned the responsibility of demobilization. Of course, the number of troops that were needed at that time, after Europe had collapsed, surrendered, was substantially less, and our role was to release many of the soldiers that came back from Europe. Now, during that period, I gave very little thought about the post-war and what I would be doing. I was discharged in April of 1946, and I considered that working in the field of economics, accounting, or personnel might be suitable. And what I did was to go with the flow. My first opportunity arose in the field of economics. A Kappa Beta fraternity brother arranged an interview for me for a temporary economist job at the National Industrial Conference Board. And I worked there during that summer in helping to draft a study on health insurance in the state of New York. During the summer, I was recommended by Clark Professor to the head of the Department of Economics at Worcester Polytechnic Institute for a position as instructor in economics, which was very attractive to me because I felt I could continue my studies for my PhD while teaching at WPI. And that's what I did. I was there for 3 years, enjoyed the experience very much, in fact, intended to stay on. But then an opportunity arose, again through recommendation from Clark University, to the agency in Washington that was putting together the staff for the Marshall Plan. And I was asked if I'd be interested, and I said yes. The WPI encouraged me to go and offered to put me on a leave of absence during that period so that I would have a place to come back once that was terminated. But I never came back to WPI, and started work with the Marshall Plan in The Hague.